Hello world, and welcome back to another day of WWDC week of WWDC 2022, and we're continuing watching sessions. I have been watching, I think, 8 sessions yesterday, and I want to do at least 5 more maybe today, and this is the first one we're watching on the 4th day. And I'm going to start with Meet Swift package plugins today. This is something I'm really curious about and interested in to see. Like I've read about it before, even WWDC, because they were around before and discussed on Swift Evolution. But I think there was nobody really presenting them in detail. At least I haven't read many things. So I'm really looking forward to learning from this. And welcome to the stream, Sami Gun, definitely. And we're going to start watching it, and a quick explanation how this works. Let me also scroll up here. So we have watched already quite some sessions, and we're going to do it the way that if you want to watch alongside me, you can just wait until the countdown from 3 to 1 and click play with me together. I'm not going to pause the session at any time, so you can basically watch alongside me, see my reactions, see my note taking. That's even more important. And after this session is over, I'm also going to go through the notes and to have like a quick summary of what I think about what was presented. So if you want to skip the watch along, you can also just go there and skip the video towards the end, watch right that. So without further ado, we're going to start watching this, and I have to download the session first. So I have full quality. Then let me set up things for the watch. Let me pause the audio here. Let me put this on the other screen. Let me put it back. All right, so I have to change my screen. So you can see the thumbnail here down below. What I'm seeing, I can only show the thumbnail, no audio, no other video. And I think we're ready to start. I'll be counting down from 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, so that was the end of the session. I just have to look up one thing. So let me quickly do that here before we get to the notes, because I missed this part here. And I just want to go back. They said, here we go. So build commands run as part of the build. You can specify input paths and output paths. That's what I wrote down. Run when outputs are missing or inputs change. They run on missing outputs or inputs changing. You specify input and output paths. That's it. Okay, that makes sense. And then pre-build commands can generate outputs whose names can't be known beforehand. And they run before every build. That makes sense. Can generate outputs whose names can't be known beforehand. Let's start on the music, by the way. All right. Run before every. Can generate outputs whose names can't be known beforehand. I think that's a detail. I will skip over that, but we are now here in the note summary, so let's go through that quickly. All right, so we have a quick summary at the start. What is a package plugin? And they went on, just said that package plugins can basically do things very similar to build scripts, where you can run them with your builds. And also, like build scripts, you can have like input and output files. And as we saw already here, when we just went through this, you can make them run whenever either your output files are empty or your input files change. So you don't have to run them if not needed. And that's definitely cool. And there is like build commands that can be run as part of the build and build commands that can be run before the build. But those are build commands. They basically provide commands to Xcode, and then Xcode decides when to execute them. That's how they work. And you can implement them via build2 plugin. So that's nice. And I can imagine that this is really useful for like generating stuff. That's also what they mentioned, like generating files. And that's cool. And then there is command plugins, and command plugins basically are, you just execute commands. And this is also, I think, like build script, but without this Xcode deciding when to run it. They're just run all the time. And there's also some Swift package command line tool interface now, where you can say list all packages, for example, or run one allowing to write, so not asking for permission to write in case of commands that are basically trying to write. Yeah, otherwise they will be asking with like an interface show, asking much like in apps where you're asking, can I write or something like that, and then you can decide. So that's nice. And how do they work? They are sandbox, so plugins are sandbox. That's important to know. But I'm having the feeling that you don't have to. Like, I'm not sure if they have bookmark support, so maybe that's something we could look up. Swift package plugins sandbox. How does the sandbox work? Let me just read about sandbox here. Oh, you can disable the sandbox. I will try to preview the documentation. There was a note about the flag. Okay. Okay, I'm guessing that this is just a guess, though, that when that you can specify that your app is going to be able to write files, and then it's just going to ask overall if it can change for the basically for the directory you run it in, and then you just have access to that directory. That's how I understood it from the session. But I definitely have to dig further into it to really know how the sandbox works. Like in apps, you ask for a specific URL, and then you can also get like bookmark data, and then you can save that, and then you don't have to ask again. But I'm not sure if that's going to be possible with plugins, and I feel that's not the case. But you can pass things back to Xcode, such as warnings and errors. That's great. And also very interestingly, you can right click on packages where you want to run the package plugin, and then you can choose it to run here. But I'm not really sure if you can also run them in an app. Like they didn't show that in Xcode. I'm guessing that it's not possible. Maybe you have to do some weird things with build scripts or something like that. So I'm not really sure about that, if that's going to be possible to run them there. So yeah, that's definitely interesting. And from what it sounded like, they also said that most tools are going to basically have like a command line binary, like for example Swift format. That's what they showed. They have this binary, and the package plugin is basically just running that tool. And you can basically make sure that each build it's running for Swift packages. And in Xcode for app targets, we already have build scripts, so you can choose, you can run basically the same tool from a build script there. And I guess that this is now the replacement for build scripts for Swift packages, which is amazing because we have our open focus timer where we can run, when we build our entire app, things like a linter, but we can't run it when we just build a package. And now with this package plugins, I think we will be able to do that as soon as all the linters adopt and support plugins. And that's, I think, where my main takeaway is that these plugins allow more or less what build scripts allowed before in Xcode. And I think this is, just to put it into a larger context, I think this is a really important step towards getting away from Xcode project files. So we no longer need Xcode project files in a, I don't know how not too distant future, I hope, but Swift package plugins I think are a really important step towards that goal. And then I think, yeah, they just need to make things work step by step. And I think as soon as the Xcode project file also is not needed, and they can basically have their new build system built up from the ground up, where everything is not relying on too many C tools and old tools, I think they can also finally bring Xcode to iPad. But I think it's still a few years until we get there. And I can imagine also that iPad just gets like an Xcode version that doesn't support a few things, and they're only supported on macOS, but at least you could have like one package kind of project with plugins and all these kinds of stuff. That's what it feels like to me. This is a step towards that. So that's my summary here. And that's Meet Swift package plugins from my side. So if you watch this on YouTube, make sure to like this video right now. And everyone else, I'm going to have a quick break, and then after the break, we're going to continue with Meet Distributed Actors in Swift. So if you want to watch that alongside me, stay, and we'll be watching that together. All right, see ya.